Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare
Hare
Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Shri Prabhupada Hare Krishna Hare Krishna अनुराग प्रभु प्रणाम हरे कृष्ण मेरी आवाज आ रही
Yes, Prabhu.
आवाज
Yes, Prabhu. You are audible.
ठीक है कल हमने पढ़ा था मटेरियल बॉडी स्ट्रक्चर इसके वास्ते बना है तो प्रभुपाद की एट प्रेजेंट ऐसा है ना
एक सेकेंड प्रभु, मेरे को पीडीएफ खोलने दो, बस एक सेकेंड.
अच्छा
कहाँ गया? Yes, Prabhu.
is a moderate elevation of Krishna consciousness. At present, Darwin theory of the evolution of organic matter is very prominent in institutions of higher learning. But there is no information. There is information given in the Padma Puran and other authoritative scriptures of the living entities, spiritual evolution from one bodily form to another. This Puran informs us that there are 84 lakh forms of living entities. 9 lakhs of which live within water, aquatic animals. There are 2 lakh species amongst plants and vegetables alone. At present, everyone is giving stress to Darwin's theory, but in Vedic literature, there is immense information about the different species. Darwin expresses the opinion that the species are evolving from lower forms of life, but that this is the whole truth. The soul may progress from lower form to higher form, but in the beginning of creation, all species were created by Sri Krishna, as indicated in the Bhagavad Gita. Sarvabhutani Kaunteya Prakritim Yanti Mamikam Kalpashaye Punastani Kalpadau Vishrami Aham. Prakritim Sam Avastadhya Vishsrajami Puna Puna Bhuta Gramam Imam Imam Shritnam Vasamprakrtirvasat. O son of Kunti, at the end of the millennium, every material manifestation enter into my nature, and at the beginning of another millennium, by my potency, I again create. The whole cosmic order is under me. By my will, it is manifested again and again, and by my will, it is annihilated and done. All of these living entities are subject to the threefold miseries, including those miseries pertaining to the body and mind. Animals cannot understand that they are suffering, but human beings can understand. One who does not know that he is suffering is in animal consciousness. Animals may be standing behind a fence to be slaughtered, but they do not understand this. As human beings, we should be cognizant that we are suffering the pains of birth, old age, disease, and death, and should be inquisitive to know how to avoid these miseries. We have been suffering from the beginning of our birth. When as a baby we were tightly placed 9 months in the womb of a mother. After birth, she may take much care for her child. The baby still cries. Why? Because he is suffering. Either either a bug is biting or there is a pain in the stomach or some other malady. Whatever the case, the suffering goes on. The child also suffers when he is forced to go to school when he does not want to. The child does not want to study, but the teacher gives him tasks anyway. If we carefully analyze our lives, we will find that they are full of suffering. Generally speaking, conditioned souls are not very intelligent, and therefore they go on suffering without ever inquiring why. We should understand, however, that this suffering is, and if there is a remedy, we must take advantage of. अगर कोई व्यक्ति बीमार पड़ जाता है तो दवाई तो लेनी चाहिए ना, लेकिन जो बदजीव है वो इतने भी इंटेलिजेंट नहीं है कि उनको उनको अपनी बीमार पहली बात तो बीमारी का ही पता नहीं चलता कि हम यहाँ पे सफ़र कर रहे हैं, और उसके बाद पता चल भी जाए तो वो दवा को लेना नहीं चाहते हैं। The great sage Rishabdev instructed his sons in this way: My dear boys, in this life you have acquired these beautiful bodies. Now you should know that they are not meant for sense gratification like the bodies of hogs and dogs, but for spiritual realization. Essentially, what Rishabdev is saying is that a life of sense gratification is meant for stool eaters like hogs, and now that we have a higher form of life, we should not try to imitate the lower forms. Recently, we were surprised to see, while walking in Central Park in New York City, that a group of young American boys and girls were engaged in worshipping hogs. While we were chanting Hare Krishna, these groups of youngsters were chanting hog, hog, hog. They were actually parading with dog. They were actually parading with hogs in Central Park and bowing down before them and worshipping them. Hogs का मतलब सुअर होता है क्या? वो तो pigs होते हैं शायद. Hogs का मतलब क्या?
यस, हॉग्स पिग्स होते हैं।
Yes, yes. वही होता है उसमें.
They were worshipping hogs. And they actually wanted one hog to become They actually wanted they actually wanted one hog to become president, and they wanted the hogs to lead them. This has gone to such length that at one B in the sea that at one B in one B in Seattle there was a demonstration with hogs in which the boys and girls undressed themselves and got in the mud played with the hogs, and in this way they were associating with the hogs and pigs which they worshipped. जिसकी पूजा करी है इसके साथ. All this is going on in a country where the young people have good looking bodies, a great deal of money, and so many other advantages over the young people of another nations. The result of winning all these advantages is that they are simply taken to hog worship. Such hog worship was anticipated long ago and was described in Srimad Bhagavatam, which was compiled at least 5,000 years ago. The point is that a beautiful situation in life should be utilized for a beautiful and not for degraded forms of worship. कितनी सुंदर बात है ना, दोबारा पढ़ते हैं. The point is that a beautiful situation in life should be utilized for a beautiful end, not for degraded form of worship. ये बहुत विचार करने की बात है वैसे तो. In the Vedic histories that we find that there are many exalted emperors and kings who practiced austerities and penances. Dhruva Maharaj, Amrisha Maharaj, and Yudhishthira Maharaj were all great kings and were most opulent, but at the same time they were great sages. Thus, they set the example for those who have acquired this good opportunity of a beautiful human form of life with all the facilities for economic development and good living. This opportunity should be used to attain an even better life, and this can be actualized by practice of penance. At present, we are existing in these material bodies, but if we take the process of Krishna consciousness, our consciousness will be purified. Although American and European, the young students who are voluntarily practicing Krishna consciousness are very pleased to practice it. They are very pleased to practice Krishna consciousness. The process is not troublesome but pleasing. Now they are realizing that purified existence constitutes the difference between animal life and human life. So this is the difference between animal life and human life, that we have human life, we can achieve purified existence, we can have a good birth in next life, we can prepare for that, but animals cannot. If we purify our existence simply by following the basic regulations of Krishna consciousness, which involve abstaining from illicit sexual connection, meat eating, intoxication, and gambling, we will gradually rise to attain our spiritual existence, which is completely pure. The sage Rishabhadeva told his sons that once they purified their existence, they would have unlimited happiness. We are all intended to attain peace and happiness, but whatever peace and happiness we find in this material world is limited. कुछ क्षण का ही होता है. If we purify our existence and attain spiritual existence, we will experience unlimited peace and happiness. The spiritual world is not dry or abstract, as pointed out before. There is variegatedness there. A part of the spiritual pleasure where experience in the Vaikuntha's is the pleasure of dancing. There are also young girls and young boys there. Indeed, there is no such thing as old age or disease or death or the pains of but 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 if we want to participate in the unlimited happiness, knowledge, and eternal life which constitute our actual heritage in the spiritual world, we should not which constitute our actual heritage in the spiritual world. We should not waste this life by working hard for sense gratification and no and worshipping hogs. We should accept a life devoted to the cultivation of Krishna consciousness, and then we will get unlimited happiness, and unlimited pleasure. This is the sum and substance of the Krishna consciousness movement. Hare Krishna. Yes, Nikhilesh Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu. Hard struggle for happiness. मेरी आवाज ठीक आ रही है ना ब्रो?
Yes, yes, it is clear.
In the revealed scriptures, the Supreme Lord is described as Satchidananda Vigraha. Sat means eternal, Chit means fully cognizant, Anand means joyful, and Vigraha means that he is a person. Thus, the Lord of the Supreme Godhead, who is one without a second, is a fully cognizant and eternal joyful personality with a full sense of his identity. No one is equal to him or greater than him. This is a concise description of the Supreme Lord. The living entities are minute examples of the Lord, and being so, they therefore find in their activities the desire for eternal existence, for complete knowledge, and for happiness. Thus, desires are evident in human society and in the upper planetary system, Swarglok, Janlok, Tapolok, Maharlok, Brahmalok, etc. The living entities enjoy a longer duration of life, an increased amount of knowledge, and a generally more blissful existence. But even in the highest planet in this material world, where the duration of life and standard of enjoyment are thousands and thousands of times greater than those on earth, there is still old age, disease, and death. Consequently, the level of enjoyment is insignificant in comparison to the eternal bliss enjoyed in the company of the Supreme Lord. Loving service to the Supreme Lord in different relationships makes even the enjoyment of impersonal Brahman as insignificant as a drop of water in comparison to the ocean. Every living being desires the topmost level of enjoyment in this material world, and yet everyone is unhappy here. This unhappiness is present on all the higher planets. Despite a longer lifespan, higher standards of enjoyment and comfort. This is due to the law of material nature. We can increase the duration of life and standard to the highest capacity, and yet by the law of material nature we will be unhappy. The reason for this is that the quality of happiness which is suitable for our constitution is different from the happiness which is derived from material activities. The living entity is a minute particle of the superior spiritual energy of the Lord, which is Sachidananda Vigraha, and therefore he has the necessary propensity for joy, which is spiritual in quality. Unfortunately for him, he is trying vainly to attain his enjoyment from the foreign atmosphere of material nature. A fish that is taken out of the water cannot be happy by an arrangement on land. He must be supplied with water. In the same way, the minute Satchidanand living entity cannot be really happy through any amount of planning conceived by his illusion brain in this material universe. He must therefore be given a different type of happiness which is spiritual in essence. Our ambition should be aimed at enjoying spiritual bliss and not this temporary happiness. Some philosophers some philosophers claim that spiritual bliss is attained by negating material happiness and material existence. Theoretical negoci- theoro- Theoretical negation of material activities, as propounded by Sripad Shankaracharya, may be effective for an insignificant section of mankind, but the best and surest way for everyone to attain spiritual bliss was propounded by Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by means of devotional activities. These devotional activities can change the very face of material nature. Hankering after material happiness is called lust, and lusty activities are sure to meet with frustration in the long run. The body of a snake is very cool, but if a man, wanting to enjoy this coolness, garlands himself with venomous snake, he will surely be killed by the snake's venomous bite. The material senses are compared to the snakes. Indulgence in material happiness will surely kill our spiritual identity. Therefore, a sane man should be ambitious to find the real source of happiness. In order to find this source, However, we need some knowledge of what that happiness is. There is the story of the foolish man who had no experience with sugarcane. When he asked his friend about the characteristics of sugarcane, he was imperfectly informed that sugarcane resembles the shape of a bamboo stick. Consequently, he began trying to extract juice from bamboo sticks, but naturally he was baffled in his attempts. This is the situation with the illusion living entity, who, in his search for eternal happiness, tries to extract happiness from this material world, which is not only full of miseries but is also transient and flickering. In Bhagavad Gita, the material world is described as being full of miseries. ब्रह्मभुवनाललोका पुनरवर्तिनो अर्जुन माम उपेत्या tu kaunteya punarjanma न vidyate. From the highest planet in the material world down to the lowest, all are places of misery, where repeated birth and death take place. But one who attains to my abode, O son of Kunti, never takes birth again. The ambition for happiness is natural and good, but the attempt to derive it from inert matter by so-called scientific arrangements is an illusory attempt doomed to frustration. Those who are befooled cannot understand this. How a person is driven by the lust for material happiness is also described in Bhagavad Gita. Idam adya maya labdham imam prabshe manoratham idam ashkidam api me bhavishyati punardhanam. The demoniac person thinks, so much wealth do I have today, and I will gain more according to my schemes. So much is mine now, and it will increase in the future more and more. This atheistic or godless civilization is a huge affair, contrived for the gratification of our senses, and now we are all mad after money in order to maintain this empty shell. Money is sought after by everyone because that is the medium of exchange for objects for sense gratification. Obviously, the expectation of peace in such an atmosphere of gold rush pandemonium is a utopian dream. As long as there is a slightest tinge of sense gratification or desire from sense gratification, peace will remain far, far away. This is because by nature we are all eternal servants of the Supreme Lord, and therefore cannot enjoy anything for our personal interest. It is therefore necessary for us to learn how to employ our senses in the transcendental service of the Lord and to utilize everything to serve His interest. This alone can bring about much desired peace. A part of the body cannot in itself be independently happy. It can only desire its happiness and pleasure out of serving the entire body. The Supreme Lord is the whole and we are the parts, but we are all busily engaged in the activities of self interest. No one is prepared to serve the Lord. This is the basic cause for our conditioning in material existence and for our resultant unhappiness. From the highest executive in his skyscraper from the highest executive in his skyscraper office down to the coolie in the street, all are working with the thought of accumulating wealth legally or illegally. Actually, it is all illegal, for to work for one's self-interest is both unlawful and destructive. Even the cultivation of spiritual realization for one's own self-interest is unlawful and destructive. The point is that all activities must be directed to the satisfaction of Krishna and his service. Those those who are not engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Supreme Lord wrongfully think that they are accumulating so much money day after day. Asha pash आशपाशासतैर्बद्धः कामक्रोधपरायणः इहन्ते कामभोगार्थम् अन्ययेनार्थसञ्चयन्. Being bound by hundreds and thousands of desires, by lust and anger, they secure money by illegal means for sense gratification. Consequently, although there is no lack of money in the world, there is a scarcity of peace. So much human energy is being diverted to making money, for the general population has increased its capacity to make more and more dollars. But in the long run, the result is that this unrestricted and unlawful monetary inflation has created a bad economy all over the world and has provoked us to manufacture huge and costly weapons to destroy the very result of such cheap money making. These leaders of the big money making countries are not really enjoying peace but are making plans to save themselves from imminent destruction by nuclear weapons. In fact, huge sums of money are being thrown into the sea by way of experiment with these dreadful weapons. Such experiments are being carried out not only at the huge cost but also at the cost of many lives. In this way, the nations are being bound by the laws of karma. When men are motivated by the impulse for sense gratification, whatever money is earned is spoiled, being spent for the destruction of the human race. The energy of the human race is thus wasted by the laws of nature because of man's aversion to the Lord, who is actually the proprietor of all energies.
आगे अनुराग को पढ़ेंगे। हम्म।
प्रभु मैं मेट्रो स्टेशन पे हूँ, घर जा रहा हूँ, आप लोग पढ़ लो प्लीज। जी जी कोई दिक्कत नहीं है। हाँ सेकंड चैप्टर लंबा है, मैं भी देख रहा था। हाँ तब कल स्टार्टिंग वाला मैं पढ़ लूंगा तब।
हाँ, कल अनुराग प्रभु पढ़ेंगे इसको।
ठीक है। अरे मैं बोल रहा था कल महाराष्ट्र ही आएंगे, पता है, द्वारका।
हाँ आपने बताया।
अच्छा प्रभु, मैं लीव कर रहा था, ठीक है। हरे कृष्णा प्रभु, हरे कृष्णा
ठीक है
अनुराग,
ठीक है।
तनु प्रणाम।
हरे
नमस्ते
कृष्णा
प्रभु,
हरे
नमस्ते
कृष्णा हरे कृष्णा,
प्रणति
दंडवत प्रणाम
प्रभु,
प्रभु जी।
पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमः। संत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय, श्री
हरे
गुरु
कृष्णा
प्रभुपाद।
निखिलेश प्रभु, दंडवत प्रणाम।